When he throws his mighty shield, those who oppose his shield must yield. But what if he was also capable of doing everything a spider can? There are hardly two more iconic Marvel characters than Steve Rogers as Captain America and Peter Parker as Spider-Man, and they share more than a few things in common. They both started off as scrawny kids, they both got an injection, one involuntary, and they both ended up with strength, agility, and an overpowering sense of responsibility. What if the super soldier from Brooklyn got the irradiated spider powers of the kid from Queens?
What?
They have some of the most recognizable origin stories in comics thanks to both their popularity and the success of their recent film franchises. Steve Rogers is a scrawny 4F recruit determined to do his part during World War II when he encounters a scientist who is developing a shortcut to maximize human potential without the self-help seminars and giant Tony Robbins teeth.
You see me any of that schnapps?
It turns out what the program needed was someone who was good on the inside rather than someone who was already physically fit and ready to fight. It makes sense in retrospect. Ultimately, the super soldier serum maxes out the human potential, so where you start at doesn't matter. What drives that body is going to change. As Erskine explains, a strong man might not appreciate that strength, having always had it, but a weak man understands its power. So Steve Rogers succeeded where other super soldiers had failed. But it turns out that Project Rebirth might have been going about it all wrong. Over in Queens, a bright young boy, also on the skinny side, went and got himself bit by a radioactive spider that gave him the proportional strength of a spider, as well as a sort of a premonition of danger we're going to refuse to call the
Peter Tingle.
Please do not start calling it my Peter Tingle.
Unfortunately, young Peter had to learn a hard lesson about responsibility after the fact, and then again a few more times as people he loves got killed by the weirdos who keep coming around trying to kill Spider-Man. The end result, however, is two superheroes with very similar motivations. Look out for the little guy, and if you can do something and you don't, anything that happens because of that happened because of you. That's a huge weight of responsibility. Good thing these guys have super strength, am I right? With Spider-Man dating back to 1962 and Captain America dating all the way back to before there even was a Marvel Comics to 1940, the stories of the two characters are well known, but they've also gone through more than a few reimaginings. This is the most true for Spider-Man, where not only has the nature of the spider that does the biting changed, but the person that gets bit has changed as well. Two of the most popular alternate spider bite recipients are Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy.
We got that in common.
Yeah.
For Miles Morales, he lived in a world where there already was a Spider-Man. His venom bite carried with it a version of the Oz formula. The Oz formula has the distinction of having created the Green Goblin, but was also an attempt to recreate the super soldier formula. In a practical sense, Miles Morales is what happens when spider powers chocolate gets into the super soldier's peanut butter. Not only does Morales get the super strength upgrade and general stickiness, but he also gets venom blasts and the ability to camouflage. The spider that bit the Peter Parker we know the best has had an interesting life. It had a lot going on when it bit Peter. Oh yeah, and also it was a spider totem that was choosing Peter as an avatar. It's this last part that's important. The spider totem is at the center of the Spider-Verse. That every reality will at some point develop a spider totem of some kind, and they generally speaking have the same Uncle Ben wisdom. That's something that scrawny Steve Rogers was born with. Even without great power, Rogers took on great responsibility, making him an ideal recipient of the spider totem. Is there anything that Steve isn't worthy of? Carrying Thor's hammer, becoming a spider totem? No wonder he agitated Tony so much. Since Rogers has the requisite sense of responsibility, it's a matter of what else he brings to the web-swinging fraternity. Miles Morales' super soldier serum was still a knockoff, so there's no telling if he'd get the bonus powers. At the very least, it might max out the spider potential, so to speak. Peter Parker was just a nerdy kid when he got bit, but thanks to the heightened reflexes and his spidey sense, he was able to hold his own against the raft of weirdos that formed the Spidey Hating Club. Rogers, on the other hand, has had extensive military training and battle experience to go with that spider sense. Spiders aren't known for their use of shields, but unless it's the Sam Raimi spider bite that gave Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker organic web shooters, Rogers isn't known for his scientific acumen.
Baby.
Rogers isn't going to develop his own web shooters, people. Fortunately, he has the hookup at S.H.I.E.L.D., and there's probably a scientist in there somewhere that was thinking of ways to make artificial web shooters for some reason. The real divide is Captain America is beloved and Spider-Man is not as much.
Don't make me come down there, you punk!
That's thanks in no small part to J. Jonah Jameson, who has blasted Spider-Man through his paper relentlessly. While it isn't required that Spider-Man be the target of scorn, but it gets at why ultimately Rogers isn't Spider-Man. Spider-Man is less the doing what a spider can and more of the person under the mask. A regular person struggling under super struggles. Steve Rogers sought out an exceptional life.
Congratulations.
Peter's bit him in the neck. Given Venom's globe-trotting around the Marvel Universe and his obsession with Peter Parker, he's more or less answered the question of what if everyone in the Marvel Universe had spider powers? Well, spider powers and a tendency to eat people. How often do you think Venom bites his tongue? I'm gonna bet a lot.